So, as I say, I'm going to try to teach a 10-hour class in 40 minutes. So, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. So, one of the oldest artifacts that was ever been found is something called the Venus of Willendorf. It's a small stone sculpture. It's estimated to be about 30,000 years old, and it was found in Austria. And it's, as it turns out, similar stone statues dating to the early Stone Age have been found throughout Europe. And we're only talking about Europe. We're not talking about Australia. We're not talking about Africa. And, but it's very, very clear that from early on in human development, that the embodiment of the creative, abundant, nurturing, and all-inclusive power of the great feminine has been a source of inspiration for people for millennia. And the expression of the great feminine has been found in art, mythologies, the spiritual practices of many ancient cultures, and it is often represented in the form of female deities. Of course, you have Kuan Yin, the mother goddess of the East. We have the Pachamama of the Andes. We have so many embodiments of this great creative principle that is based in actually the processes of the earth. Because as we look at these images and as we begin to really have some careful observation, we begin to understand that the earth herself, the spirit of Gaia, through her forms and through the forms of these creative goddesses, is capturing and expressing a tremendous creative capacity that is emblematic of the earth. And we begin to understand how dedicated the earth is to these processes and the management of the alchemy that is the relationship between the seen and the unseen. And we begin to understand how the earth is always managing and mediating these processes of creative, catalytic power simultaneously in thousands, millions of places at once. And we begin to understand the dedication and her capacity that the great creative principle expressed through the feminine offers us. And I'm going to move beyond talking just about the feminine because I don't want people to think, oh, this is just about women and birth and it's not interesting to me. But I think that, we're just starting there, and I want to just really talk about how important it is to understand that this is not limited to women. These creative processes that are expressed through these earth goddesses by people who have been observing and trying to understand the nature of the creative process that the earth is demonstrating in every moment, have simply started there. And I think it's up to all of us, to both men and women, to try to understand this creative principle better. And one of the places where we begin to understand it is actually in the birthing room, right? Where we have this process of the unseen moving into the seen, right? In the process of birth. And it's very, very clear that there's a portal opening, right? We have the cervix opening, we have the baby coming out, and we have something coming from the unseen into the seen. And so this is the basis of the idea of the creative portal. And when you're thinking about what are the requirements of the creative portal in a birthing environment, you learn very quickly that those same requirements are needed. They need to be met in any creative environment. And this is really important for artists because I know as a depth hypnosis practitioner, it's the counseling model that I developed. I have worked with hundreds and hundreds of artists who are blocked and who can't find their source of creative power. And often, just by understanding the requirements of this creative portal that is not only around birth, but also around all creative endeavors, they can begin to shift their blocks because they have this paradigm, this way of looking at what is going on with my creativity. Why, what is the container that I'm providing for it? And one of the things that happens with artists is they sometimes forget about creating a container for their creativity. They're so busy trying to generate or be in response to their creativity that they lose track of this very important idea that I'm going to present to you in just a minute about the portal. So if we look at the portal in the context of the birthing room, we see that there are certain requirements. There have to be nice people around. There have to be not too much noise. There needs to be, not too many opportunists trying to feed on the creative power of the mother and child. We see that there needs to be a supportive, structured approach to dealing with the passage of the unseen into the seen. Right? These are the requirements of any creative portal, and it's so easy to see in the birthing room. And I'd like to talk about the portal generally, because as I say, this portal arises and exists around all creative endeavors. And one of the things that you can think about in terms of the portal is to think about it as a doorway that exists between non-ordinary reality and ordinary reality. And this is a term you might have heard Carlos Castaneda kind of coined this term of the world that is beyond the reaches of the conscious mind, awake, engaged awareness that we have in our problem-solving everyday life. And then there's this other world that is beyond it, that lies in non-ordinary reality, that can be accessed and is always accessed. Any of those of you who have ever given birth or been around a birth, things get pretty psychedelic pretty quickly, right? You get very altered, right? So, and that kind of altering of consciousness is also necessary in order to be able to create effectively, right? You can't, any artist who's been sitting there looking at the canvas, like thinking about, they got to pay the bills this year, and what are they gonna paint that's gonna, somebody's gonna buy, I've done it myself, or we all do it, right? But there's no creative impulse there. You have to reach beyond the confines of the conscious mind, and you have to tap into that creative place that is where all creative products come from, that larger world. I studied in Paris, and I had this, I studied with this great Jungian guy and at the Institut Catholique, and he used to always call it the au-delà, the world beyond, and I always want to use that expression in English, but we have at least one French speaker here, so she knows what I'm talking about. So the portal is a doorway between the world of the unseen and the world of the seen. And it is a doorway that opens to allow for the influx of creative power to flow into material reality from the unseen realms beyond material manifestation. And so in the larger classes I mentioned, I teach a class called Tracking Spirit in the Birth Environment and Tracking Spirit in the Creative Environment. And in that class, we look in depth at the nature of the portal, the requirements of the portal on the manager, and the requirements of the portal on the participants. So often in an artistic situation, the artist is both the manager and the participant. But of course, in a birthing environment, the participant is not you. Well, ideally, she's also the manager, but often that gets handed off to someone else. But in any case, in both situations, the portals, the nature of the portal is the same. So the characteristics of portals, which open to other types of creativity and energetic expression coming into a material level, energetic expression moving to the material, can be viewed as the following. Portals can be viewed as a thinning of the veil. So it's like this moment where there's a thinning of what we normally think of as sort of the barrier between ordinary reality and non-ordinary reality. Portals are avenues of communication between the seen and the unseen. Portals can channel tremendous amounts of energy. And the energy that runs through portals is very highly charged creatively. And the energy that runs through portals is very catalytic. And one thing that's important to understand is that portals cannot be opened properly by those who don't really understand about the nature of portals, which is one of the reasons why you often come up with some bad birth outcomes, because no one's understanding what the requirements of the portal are. And also, it's one of the reasons why you find artists who kind of, they may have this impulse, but they're not very organized around it. They're not they don't set a structure where they are allowing for the passage of that energetic impulse to come through them in any kind of coherent way. And that's why you often find artists have problems with drug addiction. Not often. I mean, sometimes you find artists that are like just so creative, but they're just like can't get themselves organized. They might be addicted to things. It's like it's like they can't get organized. And if they can get organized by working with the creative portal, then all of the other issues in their life in general tend to kind of settle down. And in the same way, people who are blocked, they have their creative portals are blocked, and so they have to understand what's blocking the creative portal, right? So you have to have some kind of idea about the nature of portals to be able to open them at will. Sometimes people will say, I have to wait until the muse strikes me. I can't just create when I want to. Well, there's a way to cultivate the pathway for the muse. There's a way to have a more organized relationship to this power that lies in non-ordinary reality. And by creating a proper creative portal, you can do that. And then portals can be opened at will, and you can create what you want to create. You can receive inspiration when you want to receive inspiration, and you can address the issues that might be blocking within your own experience the opening, your ability to open the portal. So one of the things that happens is that, and this is something, I'm trying to teach a 10-hour class in 40 minutes, but one of the things that can happen when people who are highly creative, and this happens around birth too, is you get people that are drawn to creative power, people who don't have access to their own sources of creative power. They'll often get drawn to other people's sources of creative power. And then they can become kind of opportunistic, trying to drain off that creative power. And this creates, and often people don't know how to manage that. Like in the birthing room, that looks like, pharmaceutical companies making decisions instead of the mother. In the artistic realm, it looks like people who are, really don't have the artist's best intention, coming around and, looking like they're helping when they're actually not helping. About those people. And so, being able to defend the portal is actually a really important thing. And one of the reasons why many of us have kind of less access to these creative portals opening is because we are not aware of this issue of other people who don't have access to their own creative potential coming in and trying to access the creative power that is coming through the portal that you're managing. So, and I mention this because a lot of people who are highly creative, it doesn't occur to them that this is happening. And I remember I worked with a very, very famous artist, again, in the depth hypnosis process that I developed. That's a counseling process that's designed for all kinds of things, depression, anxiety, addiction. But also I tended for a while to specialize in artists. And this guy came to me, and he was so driven, he could not paint. Like, he couldn't sleep, he couldn't eat, he was painting, and he was on a bucking bronco, and he couldn't organize any aspect of his life. And he had all these people, including several women who he was involved with, that were basically just living off of his creative power without really doing anything for him. And it felt good to him because it drained off the creative potential. Like, he didn't mind it because they would drain it off and he wouldn't feel so disorganized. But when we started getting him organized and started helping him understand that, he could create, with his intentionality, with his a proper relationship to his creative potential. And again, I don't have time to go into all of that here, how to develop that. He could create a more organized pathway for this creative principle. And then he could actually eat, he could actually sleep, and he could actually perceive that these women were actually just, draining him and, taking his money without him realizing it, and doing all kinds of things. So this is these are why, as if you are an artist any kind of, you don't have to be just an artist, anyone who's involved in any kind of creative thing, you really have to watch, what is my relationship to this creative source? What is the nature of the portal, and what is surrounding it, right? And certainly those are very important questions in the birthing room as well, right? So one of the things that I would wanted to do is to do a meditation to help you connect first with the principle, the great generative creative principle of the earth, and then to work with that generative principle to help you understand where in your life creative portals exist and what the conditions of those portals might be. And I hope that we can do this meditation with this very short introduction. But before we do the meditation, I thought I'd just see if there's any questions or comments. Yes?
I love each time you spoke about the requirements. And I'm just wondering if that, if you document that in what you've written.
Well, one of I've written a book called Return to the Great Mother, and it's essentially a way of understanding what birth is in terms of an initiatory process that requires the structures that any type of initiation requires. And so in there you might find it. It's in the bookstore. Yeah.
It's one of those books that actually I have near my bed.
Oh, wow. Oh, great. Great. Okay. Yes.
I've discovered the portal in my writing, and I've been working really incredibly well. It almost seems like I'm not writing the book. And something happened sort of traumatic in the space that I used to write in. And I was wondering, that should have shut it down. And I was wondering, is there a way to reopen it?
Yes. So the space that you're writing in, something traumatic happened in it?
Yeah.
Yes. So actually, we're into something called the need for space clearing, right? So what happens when a strong event, it can be, someone having a fight, someone being killed, or just someone being angry in a space. It can leave an imprint on an energetic level. And of course, when you're trying to open a portal, which is an energetic thing, the imprint of that event is going to be there blocking it. So what you need to do is to do a space clearing. So we actually, I don't know, where do you live?
In Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. Well, we can, so just briefly, we actually have something at the Sacred Stream called the Space Clearing Society, the coolest name for any group ever. And we actually do non-local clearings. So one of the things working shamanically that is wonderful is that you don't have to be in the same place to affect phenomena. You can affect phenomena across time and space. So you could contact us and we could help you, or you could find someone there. There may be someone there who knows how to clear space. But just quickly, I mean, are you strongly affected by this event?
That's what's actually causing the situation. It was a robbery.
Okay.
When I wasn't there, and I live in the middle of the jungle in a completely isolated space, and there's a psychological little movie making in my mind of them coming back because they found some information about me and stuff, and I'm worried about something going to a different level while I'm sitting there writing, so I can't actually go into that portal anymore.
Right.
You know, that's the problem. I get what you're saying.
Well, I think clearing the space is going to help with the weight of that, of course, there's some personal work that you may need to do also. But in terms of the space, that will break the imprint. So there won't be such a strong draw. Like there won't be like a resonance. Like right now, an easy way to say that is their energy is still in the space, right? And so what you want to do is and when you start to write, that becomes evident because that unseen world is opening, right? And you're getting that perception. And the imprint is in the unseen world, right? So it gets stronger, right? So if you remove it, and if you want to try doing it yourself, I would recommend getting some white sage while you're here.
I've done all that.
It didn't work. You probably
It's in here.
Yeah. Well, I think also having someone else clear the space will help.
Okay.
That's why I asked if you were strongly affected. I think having someone else clear it, and then getting some help with what's going on there. There's probably something around violation or.
It's more of a fear of that while I'm sitting there, something happening in this space.
Again, I think that's because there's probably some energetic imprint that needs to get removed by somebody who might know a little bit more than you do about space clearing.
Okay.
Not that you don't know anything.
No,
I don't want to minimize what you know or anything, but space clearing can be a complicated issue.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and our mission is to support artists and healers in the places where they live and work.
Okay.
So you're right in our mission. You're right in our mission
Yeah,
statement. Okay. So let's go ahead and try to do a little meditation here. And it looks like we'll be kind of going right up against the time. So I would recommend after the meditation not getting up and running around right away. Just sit for a minute and think about it, even if we have to stop. So just allowing yourself to get settled. Noticing all the places where the surface under you meets the different parts of your body. And as you do, just noticing where your breath is. Noticing as you breathe in where your breath goes. And noticing as you breathe out where your breath goes. And just allowing yourself with each breath to draw a bit closer into your inner world, into that place where everything that you've ever known or felt or sensed or dreamed or imagined is recorded. And as you come into this place, just allowing all of your inner senses to open widely. Your inner sense of taste, touch, and smell. Your inner sense of sight and hearing. But especially that sixth sense of just knowing. And as you allow your inner senses to open, just allowing yourself now to return to a place in nature where you have felt comfortable and at peace. Allowing yourself to return to that place with all of your inner senses open. This place, perhaps in nature, or most likely, definitely in nature, where you have felt comfortable and at peace. And as your inner senses open, just allow yourself to become aware of the nature of the light, the quality of the light. Noticing if there's any sounds. Just taking a deep breath and noticing the particular odors of this place. And noticing if there's a breeze on your cheek or if the wind is still. And as you connect with this place on every level of your experience, just allowing yourself to become aware of any aspect of this place that's drawing your attention most strongly. It may be the entire place, or there may be a particular animal or plant that's drawing your attention most strongly. It's the entire place. You might think of addressing the following question to the spirit of the place, or if there's a particular animal or plant or aspect of nature that's drawing your attention most strongly, you can address this question there. And the question is, would you be willing to guide me and help me understand creativity better? Would you be willing to guide me and help me understand creativity better? You may get this answer in a variety of ways. There could be a verbal or telepathic message. Or there could be a change in the environment or some action on the part of the place or the animal or the plant that you're addressing. Would you be willing to guide me and help me understand my creativity better? And if the answer is yes, just allow yourself now to ask this guide to show you a creative portal in your life. Where is a place where there is a creative portal? It might be in your work or in your avocation or any place in your experience. Where is there a creative portal that exists in my experience? Again, the portal is a place that opens. It's a doorway between the unseen and the seen that is creatively charged with catalytic energy that moves from the unseen to the seen. Just asking to be shown a creative portal that exists in your life. And as you're shown this creative portal, ask to be shown the condition of it. Ask to be shown the condition of it. Is it well structured? Or is it have other imprints in it? Is it closed? Or is it too open? Just ask to be shown the nature of and condition of this creative portal. And if there's something that needs to be addressed, if it's too open, you can ask, how do I get the right structure around it? Or if it's closed, you can ask, what do I need to do in order to open it? And just allowing yourself to know that you can spend more time here and that you can come back to this place at any time. And that you can get to know your guide better. And that you can learn more about the creative portals in your life. For now, just summarizing what you've been shown. And just allowing yourself now to bring back these understandings with you as you come back gently to your breath. Just watching your breath move in and move out. Resting in your breath. And just following your breath back out into the room. Feeling the surface under you again. You may want to stretch a bit. And whenever you're ready, just opening your eyes. So maybe just sit for a minute thinking about the meditation. We did, several hours of meditation in 8 minutes right there. So just take a minute to let yourself come back fully into the room. And if you didn't meet a guide, it was a very quick connection with a guide. If you didn't meet a guide, there is on the sacredstream.org website, there is a meditation, a longer meditation to help you. It's called Connecting with Your Spirit Guide. So you can follow that meditation if that would be helpful. And if you want to learn more about the creative portal, I'll be teaching the Tracking Spirit in the Birth Environment and Creative Environment class. I think in the spring of 2019 or 2010, I alternate the initiations of the Sacred Feminine with that class every other year. So anyway, look at the calendar at the sacredstream.org website. And I'm sorry we had such a short time to be together, but I'm very grateful for it, and I thank you for coming, and wish you much creativity.